I am David Wortley. My passion in life is helping other people to fulfill their human potential and the human potential of all those around them. Like most motivational speakers, my inspiration came from a life event. Well, many motivational speakers talk about things, traumatic events in their life, either going bankrupt, having a serious health problem, or some event which caused them to want to change the direction of their life. Well, my event is a little bit different. It's actually just four words spoken by a person who was probably the most unlikely source of those four words. But before I get into the story of those four words and tell you what they are, I want to give you a bit of background context to the story. We're talking about 1998. I was a managing director of one of the leading presentation services companies in the UK. We run the National Presentation Network, which was a franchise operation in partnership with Prontoprint. Around 1998, Prontoprint advised me that they were being taken over by a European company called Adair, who were going to use the network to feed their print factories rather than presentation services, which is what we offered. So I was faced with a situation where my best customer, 70% of my business came through Pontoprint, was likely to be shifting priorities, which meant really that my business could quite rapidly become commercially unsustainable. And so I thought about what else we could do. And because we had in-depth knowledge of technology, we're heavily involved in multimedia, we decided to apply for some funding from the government under what was known as the Multimedia Demonstrator Programme, which was designed to encourage small businesses to adopt multimedia and the internet, something we've been doing for quite a while. And we operated from a converted barn in a rural village just outside the market town of Market Harborough. And what inspired me to apply for this fund was the idea that in every community around the world, there are hidden skills and talents that belong to our neighbours that we know nothing about. And so I devised a project called ComNet, which stands for Community Commerce and Knowledge Network. And basically, it was a community web portal doing the kind of thing that you see on Facebook and LinkedIn today. And so we put together the project in the belief that the community web portal would help us to uncover hidden skills and talent and encourage people to trade with each other. We'd only just started the project, and my vision and my idea was to create a network of community champions, of people who understood the value of information technology for improving their business with trade and knowledge sharing. And in order to build this community network, I decided to do a search on the web. Now, this was before Google, it was before any of the modern search engines we have today. And I think one of the search engines called Alta Vista, but there were others. So I decided to find these people by simply typing in the name of my town into all the search engines. So I typed in the words Market Harborough into all the search engines. And to my surprise, there was an existing website called Big Fern, which did about 50 or 60% of what I had just received £250,000 in funding to do. So it was quite a shock. And what was the moral dilemma in all of this was the fact that whoever had designed this community web portal were actually better at designing websites than my company. So I was faced with the prospect of a competitor on my doorstep who was better than we were. And that was part of my motivation for applying for the award in the first place, so that we would attract business. Anyway, I decided that the world was big enough for both of us, so I sent an email to the webmaster of Big Fern, inviting him to come and see me to talk about the money that we just got and whether we could collaborate. Anyway, one Friday afternoon, a man walked into my office, and this is where the life-changing moment came. And that man looked familiar. So I said to him, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. And he said, well, of course you know me. And here are the four words that changed my life. And those four words are, I am your milkman. Now, to say that you could have knocked me over with a feather is an understatement. I was absolutely flabbergasted because here was a man who didn't have a university education, didn't have a career in technology like me, having worked for IBM, Post Office Telecommunications. And here was my milkman giving me a lesson in how to use technology and build websites. Well, that was actually, it was a double moment because on the one hand, I was astonished that it was my milkman who'd done all this in his spare time with a computer that he'd built for spare parts. But on the other hand, it actually validated the idea for ComNet because I had already uncovered a hidden skill and talent. That milkman was called Frank Bingley. And I owe a great deal to him because without that moment and those four words of I am your milkman, I wouldn't be talking to you today and I wouldn't be inspired to be a motivational speaker and I wouldn't want to share that story with everyone I meet. Now, the subsequent story that led on from this initial moment was as the project developed, it became a flagship project, and I was invited to the ministerial cabinet officers of the newly appointed government envoy, Alex Allen, now is Sir Alex Allen, and he agreed to be interviewed to promote this project because it actually went along with what he was trying to do as the newly appointed government envoy. But to make a video recording of this interview, I needed people with video skills. And here is the second revelational moment. So I put a little advert in the Harborough Times, just a small town newspaper, asking for anyone who'd got video filming or editing skills to help me. I can make videos, but not to the professional extent. And there were two men who replied to that little advert. The first man was an ex-senior BBC cameraman who worked on programmes like Doctor Who and EastEnders. He actually was the man who filmed Dirty Den's demise all those years ago. And his name was Steve Cocaine, and he lived in my village. He lived only 200 yards from me, and I had never met him, didn't know of his existence. He agreed to do the filming. And then the other man who replied to the advert was a man called Bob Bridges. He lived in Market Harborough, only 2 miles from me, and he was a special effects man for Harry Potter. These three people, three extraordinary people, lived within 2 miles of me, and I had never heard of them, didn't know of their existence. So my message is very clear that you have extraordinary talents. Everyone in the world has some special skill or talent that is unique to them. And if you are in a position, any kind of position, whether you're working in a team, working for a business, working for a community group, you have an opportunity to harness the skills and talents of those people. So don't judge a book by looking at its cover. I could tell you many more examples that I've experienced over the years that have gone on to prove that. So I am available to talk, and I talk internationally all around the world at various conferences, mostly on digital health, but also motivational speaking for companies, schools, colleges, any organization that wants to hear inspiring stories that will change the lives of the people that they care about and the people around them. So thank you for very much for listening to this video. I will be putting the contact details at the end of this video. You can contact me by email preferably, but also by my mobile phone. I'm a professional member of the Professional Speaking Association, and I also want to thank the PSA for also inspiring me to become a professional motivational speaker full time instead of part time. Thank you.